Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Systems for Sanity. I have my guest today, Sean Harker, who is the president of Stroops. Sean, you're in the health and wellness space. Tell us a little bit more about your company and what you guys do.
So we actually design and manufacture fitness and rehab equipment primarily.
Okay.
So we're actually one of the very few companies in the United States that actually make our own products. Most people in our space will actually go over to China and buy product. And not only that, but we actually design almost everything that we sell. So we design it in-house, we build it in-house, we make it in the United States. We're out of Utah. So we have a really unique space. One of the things we like to, because product development, it's not unusual for us to do multiple products in a week. Most people
Okay.
I've talked to, they're like, we usually do one product every 18 months. And the fastest we've ever done one is in 15 minutes. So we'll go from concept to market extremely quickly. We also have the ability to be agile to make small batches to large batches. So inventors or even us come out with a new product, we can make 1, 2, 3, 10, 100 at a time so that the entrepreneur doesn't run out of cash. Because one of the big problems with entrepreneurship is your cash flow, especially coming out the box. And unless your dad's rich, unless you got a bunch of investors up front, most of entrepreneurs like, how do I make this all work? And especially if they're in the product space and they're like, well, I don't have any customers yet. I have a concept. I have an idea. I don't know how to make it. I don't have any tools. And so by the time you go through all the process, which we can talk about later if that's something you want to go into, but we talk about this and I've worked with dozens, if not hundreds of inventor guys and like, okay, let's create your own product and how do we launch it and get it to market with you, for you. But it's a challenge because they're not really set up to go to market yet and they don't have an infrastructure. And I think one of the big problems that the entrepreneur has is they don't know where they fit in the system. I've had people that say, hey, I've invented this new thing. I want 50% of the take. And I said, okay, so is it done? Well, no, it's just my idea. Like, well, you haven't even fleshed out your idea. You don't even have a prototype. You don't even have the pricing. You don't even have the competition. You don't have anything yet. You're not going to get 50% off this. It's just not going to happen. And others that have this concept, like, I made this out of my backyard. Look at this. I took some duct tape and I wrapped it around this and I put a couple screws on it and this is what it is. Imagine what it would look like this. And I start to laugh thinking, if you brought this into Shark Tank, imagine, guys, if I had this and they're going to like, get out.
Yeah.
When you have a product that's ready to go to market, then come talk to us. And so our real specialty is saying, how do we take a product from concept to market extremely quickly on very low money and only get you the product that you need so you don't go in debt with product development, product inventory, and you just get to market so you're profitable very, very quickly. It's not trivial, and it takes a lot of infrastructure to do it. So one of my goals with my company was to be able to take a product from concept to market in 48 hours. And we've done it more than once. We don't do it every time, but we have the abilities to do it. Depends on what it is, if it fits in our niches. But the problem we have is trying to get it to the rest of the market. Just like you were talking about in the pre-talk here, is like, how do you reach the masses? And how do you reach all the people that want to hear about your product or service? And with the number of voices that are out there trying to scream for everybody's attention, whether it be YouTube interrupted every 10 seconds to have a minute-long commercial, or the radio blasting. I can't listen to Spotify without a commercial every song, and you're like, okay, you're just getting blasted from too many areas. And how do you get in? And then you say, oh, well, let's just get influencers. This guy has 10 million. Yeah, for $100,000, they'll be happy to speak about your product for 30 seconds. And you go, okay, well, they didn't sell any. Well, yep, you're out. Go find somebody else. And so it's really challenging to try to figure out how to get your product. But we can talk about histories of the company and how we get there. But my space is, I've been an athlete all my life. Ever since I remember, big football fan. I ended up playing collegiate football, Division I. I was the two-time academic All-American for American football. And I finished my master's degree in mechanical engineering. And then during my first product, you talked about software earlier. My first product I ever designed that I sold for real money was in high school. My football coach, his name was Dirk Cutter, who went on to play. He used to be the head football coach eventually for the Atlanta Falcons. When I was in high school, he asked me to design a software that would help scout the tendencies of our opponents. And this was back in the day, you might remember, of the day with DOS and Apple,
yeah.
and you had line code 10, line code 30, line code 50, and you created this, and I wrote my first software that would predict the tendencies of other of opponents using some software back there.
What
So
was the gentleman's name, the head coach?
Dirk Cutter, Dirk Koetter, I believe it was.
Okay.
He played. He
One of our admins is a big Atlanta Falcons fan, so much so that he has a tattoo of their logo on his arm. So he's going to get a big kick out of that when I tell him.
I
But
want to say it was probably about 8 years ago, maybe 10 years ago. He coached in Idaho, Pocatello. I went to Highland High School in Pocatello, Idaho. That's where he was our coach. His father was a coach. He then coached Idaho State University, bounced around to different universities and professional teams, but he ended up being the head coach for Atlanta Falcons. He used to be the quarterback coach, I think, for them for a few years. Then he worked his way up to offensive coordinator and then head coach, and then he retired. He lives in Boise right now.
And this is what I love about these podcasts is hearing about all these interesting connections that you have with all these people. Like the gentleman I had a podcast with earlier today, Human Charger is the company that he started, and it's like a little. They look like earbuds, like the earbuds you used to wrap around your neck, and you put them in your ear, and they've got light. And I don't know if you ever heard of it before, but he's saying it actually helps you with jet lag and helps wake your body up. Like if you have an afternoon crash or something, you put these in your ear. And I was like, what else have you done? And he was like, well, I used to be it's like the coach for the ski team, the US ski team back in, can't remember, like, 4 or 5 Olympics back. But I mean, it's like meet the most interesting people that know so many like, I don't know anybody interesting, but I'm meeting you and this is interesting. So
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people you meet in this space. I've met a lot of the top people. One interesting guy I met, I don't know much about fitness, but I think he designed all the Nautilus or Universal equipment. He's a really nice guy, super quiet inventor guy. And he comes out to me to help him with his inventions. And he's probably 15 years my senior. And he comes out to have me. Matter of fact, I've had some of the biggest companies in the world, fitness world, reach out to me. One of them flew out to see me and said, I should say there's one person in charge of product development. They said that she was struggling trying to figure out how to develop a certain product. They said, well, do you know this Sean guy? And she's like, I've never heard of this guy. He says, you need to go out and visit with this guy. So she came out and she was in charge of developing a particular line of products for these people, this company. And by the time we walked out of one day working together, I probably had 17 products for her. And we shot videos, brand new products, never been around before. And we shot video of it. There was another gal that came, there's another lady that came out here and she says, I've been working for a year and a half trying to develop this. Our main bread and butter is elastic resistance products, which we can talk about later. But she says, I've been working for a year and a half trying to get this right elastic resistance product. And someone mentioned your name. And he said, I need to go talk to you. I said, well, tell me about your product. So she described what she was trying to do. I said, if you come here, I'll do it in a day. She said, there's no way. I said, yeah, I'll do it in a day. So she flew out. We went through at least about 6 prototypes all in one day. And she flew back with her prototypes. She said, oh my gosh, I need to have like 6 sets of these for Monday. It was like a Wednesday. I need 6 sets of these for Monday. Can you have them so I can give one to each of the decision makers? And we can go through it and they all can play with this new product. Sure. So we next day aired a batch of 6 of these things and then, or something like that. And then they followed up, oh my gosh, they love it, but they want to do a test run on one of our clubs. We need like 25 sets. Can you get them here by next week? Sure. So we knocked out 25 sets and we shipped them out and they did a test and they ordered 40,000 sets for 6 months. And we shipped out all 40,000 sets. So we went from product to concept or concept to product in like less than a day with multiple iterations. First production runs in a day after that, semi-start production run, and then a couple days after that to 40,000 units. So
that's incredible.
I mean, people who've never done this before, they go, oh, that's kind of whatever. If you've done this before, if you've ever had this experience, usually what happens is you have a guy, oh, I got this really cool idea. Man, what should I do about it? I don't know. Should I patent it? Should I not? I'm going to hire my buddy who knows how to draw stuff and he'll do it. So he draws it up and like, oh, that looks cool. Well, he's an artist. He's an engineer. So then the
Right.
engineer guy has to come in. I think this is really cool. And you go, okay, well, who's going to make it? And the guy's like, I just draft stuff. I just color pictures. Oh, I better find some welder guy locally. So you find Joe the welder who welds up his little thing, or Susie Q who sews a widget up for you or whatever it is. And they go, great. Okay, it looks like crap. And they're like, I don't know how to fix it. You just tell me what you want different. I'll change it. But I don't know what you want because I'm a seamstress. I'm not a fitness person. I don't know how to, I'm a welder. I don't understand what you're trying to do. I'll weld it however you tell me to. I don't know what you're trying to do. So then you put the whole thing together and the guy finally makes a widget that you like. I saw one, I can show you all kinds of cool stuff. One guy sent me this widget that was really, really awesome, super functional. And I said, that's really cool, but the manufacturing cost had to be like $700. He's like, yeah, I spent $1,000 on this. I said, okay, great. But what do you want to sell this for? He says, I want to sell it for like 125. I said, okay, well, who in the world's going to get it down from where it's at to here? Do you have any
Right.
idea how to do it? I don't know, but this is a really cool one. I can't get the price anything less than like $500. So I'm like, okay, are you willing to adjust the design? Well, yeah, if it does the same functionality. I said, okay. So like the next day I designed the whole thing up. It probably cost me $30 to make, and I could go to production.
So you're actually doing the design yourself, or you have a
Oh,
team that does the
no,
design?
I design it all. Yeah,
Okay.
I just, maybe the guys this morning, this like, Sean, we got this problem. We got to make this product. We don't know how to do it because our supplier choked. And so we have to figure out how to make this particular component. So I spent about 45 minutes and invented a new way to manufacture a product that I can do with, someone else told me how I could do it potentially. It cost me like $1,500 worth of parts and machines. And then I still had to do a lot of work. I think I did it for $120, and I could make the part, and I can do them fast and efficient and probably better.
So all
So
these things you're telling me about that you're making, they sound like they're made out of different material. Like you're telling me about
yep.
the elastic bands. You're telling me about, oh yeah, weld this and that. I'm envisioning right now because we've done IT support for a couple of manufacturers that have had like CNC machines and things like that for both metal and wood, and the amount of space that these machines take up. Like you must have a gigantic warehouse or something to do all this in.
So we have the ability to do metal fabrication. So all the stuff in the background, these are all products we make, except for the balls. We
Okay.
don't make the ball. So we have metal fabrication, we have powder coating. We recently got into the wood fabrication. So we do CNC wood routing, we do elastic resistance, we do sewing, screen printing, and we'll be in the laser cutting space very soon. And we make all these products almost like a build to order. And then we bring them all together to make any kit you want out of these things. So there's no place. I've had people all over the world said there's no other company they've ever seen before that has all of these technologies in one roof and the ability to do pick, pack, and ship and fulfillment if we need to. So we can do mass production down to onesie, twosie, Amazon fulfillment orders. So, and then we do product design too. And we also use this room here and another room that we do photo and video shoots. So I could go back there, I could sketch something out. You said, man, I wish I had a product that did this. I could sketch it out, kind of run it by you. What do you think? And then go back and manufacture it and show it to you on the phone. You said, yes, it's too big, too small. I could maybe go back and make another one depending on what it is. And I did this one guy was, I think I can tell you, it's with Equinox. Equinox was the customer. And Equinox is the customer. The guy's like, I got this really cool idea. I'm like, okay. And he said, they got a referral. This guy's like, someone said I'm supposed to talk to you. Like, okay, what is it? He shows me what it is. Went down to Home Depot and I got this and I got this and I this. And this is kind of what I think it's supposed to look like and do. And okay, great. Obviously, that's not going to work. So I asked him a couple of questions. How long do you want to take it to assemble and use? Maybe like 2 minutes or minute. Okay. What's your price point? He gave me the price point. Da, 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 da. And I said, okay, give me 5 minutes. I'll be back. And I went and manufactured when I said, this is what you want. And they ordered 2,000 of them and they ordered more. So that's, and the cost for me to manufacture it is hardly anything, but we could go from concept to production that quick.
That's absolutely incredible. I've never heard of turnaround that fast. And man, I wish there was we used to use these routers. I wish I would have known you back then. We used to use these routers and they had, if you're seeing, network equipment, that can be mounted in a rack will typically have little screw holes on the side, but you
Sure.
have to have rack ears for it to then put it in the rack. Well, these routers had the screw holes on the side, but the manufacturer did not sell rack ears for them. So I had to go to a local metal shop and I said, hey, I had to measure out like, okay, the rack is 19 inches, on center for the screw holes on the side. We need
Hmm.
to make the rack ears to be the width to where we can fit the router in the middle and put the rack ears on the side and it mounts in the rack, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And they did it, but it was like very rudimentary and clunky. And they weren't, no two rack ears for the left were the same, no two rack ears to the right were the same. I mean, it worked most of the time, but it wasn't great. Man, if I would have known you back then, I don't know if you were doing this back then. This is probably like 10 years ago, but been
I've
like,
been
hey,
doing
Sean, can you do me
this.
like 10 sets of these rack ears?
Yeah, I've been doing this for 20, 30 years. Matter of fact, the original name of the company is Stroops is the brand name. We'll talk about that in a second. But the original name of the company was a play off of my last name. My last name is Harker. And so I did Harken Technologies. That's the name of the real official company, Harken Technologies. And the
Okay.
tagline under it was listening to provide innovative solutions. So the hearken
Nice.
and the listening, what I really like to do is just like, okay, tell me the problem, let me solve it for you. And then you just buy the product from us and you sell it. In my perfect world, that's how it would be. And I'd say, okay, I'll just design stuff, find someone who has the marketing ability to go out and sell it into their particular channel. And then we design it, manufacture. You don't worry about that. We pick, pack, and ship, and you just sell. Sell, 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 sell. And then you do your expertise, which is, Google marketing or Amazon or whatever you do. And I don't care. You just have to buy them from us. The problem comes in when they say, oh, great, Sean, you do all the product development. It doesn't look like it took you very much time, so it's not worth very much. So we're now going to take it overseas and we're going to copy it because
Yep.
you did it so quickly and so easily. We don't value your time. And so I was like, okay, you try this with anybody else. Good luck. And they're going to tell you it's going to be a year before you get a widget done and it's going to match like yours. And then you're going to say, you got to buy 10,000 of these things and we're not going to touch it. So there's all these, but then everyone tells you, Sean, you should charge a lot of money for this. And it's so fun for me. I don't charge what I should charge because I get excited making cool stuff come to life.
Yeah, that's
And
got to be really rewarding if it's like new inventions all the time. You're like, oh man, that's really cool. And then you whip it up in 10 minutes. You're like, is this what you're talking about? It's like, yeah, man, that's exactly what I envisioned. You're like, okay, great. How many should I put you down for? I need 10,000 sold.
so usually what happens is I'll take 4 or 10 and they take the first one and keep it themselves and they send the other 5 to 10 to China and they don't pay me anything.
Yeah.
And you're like, what? What? So it's super, super. Yeah, we're in the middle of a lawsuit case. Well, it's in the middle. It's actually got settled. Recently, it was semi-settled. But I actually designed that for somebody, designed a product for somebody, and they, as soon as they got the product, did it. It's for a golf product, and I designed the product, and it was like right near Christmas time a few years ago, and they're like, there's a big PGA event in like the second week of January. Can you do this? So I designed their entire product, put it all together, delivered 100 of them in like couple weeks, went through 1 or 2 prototypes to get all the dimensions right for what they wanted because they didn't know. They was like, I just got to do this. I'm like, okay, well, then it's got to do this, 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 this. I'll zip them out, get you 100 of them so you can sell them. And then shortly thereafter, they took them and sent them to China. I'm like, dude, you have to buy them from us. That's part of the deal. You don't just get to have us make them and then you run off. So, I mean, you talk about entrepreneurship, that kind of stuff is very fascinating because I wonder how like a Mark Zuckerberg or whatever, Mark started this company when it's really, really young. How did he not get screwed over by all these people at such a young age? How did he either know, or he must have had somebody, because I could just imagine a bunch of people like, hey, yeah, I'll help you. I'll help you. I'll help
Yeah.
you. And next thing you know, this young budding entrepreneur is then left a thing. And so it happens. And I think a lot of budding entrepreneurs have that problem with they're naive or maybe they're not as naive and they try to spend so much money on legal protection or whatever it is. I mean, I got guys like, oh, I think I want to get a patent on this or I want to do this. I'm like, dude, you haven't sold any. You don't even know what you got. You haven't even finished a prototype. You don't know if anyone wants this product or service. So do you really want to spend that first money in there? And then let's say that Nike decides to copy you or NASA or somebody, I don't care who it is, Elon Musk.
Somebody
Okay,
with more
Elon.
money.
Yeah, Elon, let's go at it. I developed a new drone, you're going to want it. And Elon says, that's great. I'm just going to make something similar. I don't need to pay. I'm not going to do this. Or he copies your patent. You're like, okay, you're going to run race to the bank. Bill Gates, like, what are you going to do? Race to the bank? and they'll kill you.
So
They'll
what limitations do you have in terms of, can you do things with electronics and circuitry in it, or
We stay away from electronics and circuitry. That's not my background. You talked about automation. We don't do a lot of automation. We want to. We wouldn't mind doing more automation. The closest things we've got is like a CNC machine. We're using some software to communicate back and forth with different people in the production area. Automation generally works really well in mass production, making the same widget over and over. It takes a long time to program the robot to do the same thing over. We have to have our machines such that within a couple minutes we can switch from making product A to product B.
right?
So we'll make 10 of these and 5 of these and 1 of these and 100 of those. So I can't reprogram the robot for 2 days to make one piece. So you have to do it a little differently then and then in our space, usually robots are really good with precision stuff. So if you have a high tolerance particular widget, the robot knows where it's at and grabs it. Well, you do with fabric. Well, the fabric curled, it rolled up. It did this. It's not the same for the robot to grab every time. And so it's not easily done with robotics or automation. And especially if you want to do the multiple, different type of things, when we got into the CNCs and stuff, like we can do more automation, but still you have to make sure you're having enough widgets being made of the same type to make it worthwhile. Even a program of CNC,
Right.
heck, sometimes I'll just chop a piece of wood instead of going to the CNC, program it for 30 minutes and okay, it cut my same piece of wood that I could have used a chop saw or jigsaw with. It's like, okay,
Yes.
what's the right tool for the right purpose? But we've made stuff. I've designed stuff from the aerospace industry too. Aerospace
Okay.
down to fitness, to wellness, I've done some stuff for all kinds of different people that have nothing to do with fitness.
We have a company that they're not, I guess, officially a client because we don't do any ongoing support for them, but I want to say it's like Thompson and Thompson or something like that, and they've got a location in Bernie, and I think a
Mm.
location in Houston, and they do. I can't remember if they actually manufacture or just stock and ship parts or just do repairs. I'd have to look at their website again, but it's interesting the amount of, they were walking us through one of the rooms. They may have been like servicing parts or something like that, like maybe hydraulics from, like a commercial or a military airplane that's like, broken down. They pull the hydraulic off. It's for like the back door of like a C-137 or something, and it's jacked up. So they take it off and they send it to these guys and they rebuild it, or whatever. And if it's out of production or something, I think they have to manually make it or something. I don't know, but that's, so you've done airline parts as well.
Well, it's yes, but they're in our same space. Most airline parts are pretty high precision, but some of the things that we've done, they've just reached out to us and requested that we do something that fits in our space. But yeah, we do a fair amount with some aerospace companies that have nothing to do with fitness. So our products are used we got boating applications. We used one application was for controlling seismic or earthquake type prevention stuff. And we use some things for, what do you want to call it? Units to pull a electrical power line down from the ceiling so you can plug in something. And when you're
Yeah.
done, you let it go and it goes up to the ceiling or goes higher so the forklifts can drive. So you just grab a hold of it and pull it back down. And so super cost effective ways to move in and out wire. And anyways, there's lots of different ways that we do. But most of the stuff, I would say 95% of or more is what we do is in the fitness space, fitness and rehab.
So how do you find clients, or how do you get clients? Because of course that's a big part of owning your own business. You got to market or get referrals or whatever. How does that work for you?
We started, what, 30 years ago, probably a little over 30 years ago. And I would go to trade shows. That's probably where we've mainly met people, is through trade shows and just developing relationships over time. We tend to sell to the same people over and over and over again. We like the long-term customers that do repeat business. We
Yep.
are not super interested in the ones that just, I want to buy you something and go to like a sofa. I'm going to buy a sofa and leave. A home user, it's just not good. I want to sell to that furniture store that buys a sofa every week. That's the guy I want to sell to. So
Right.
most of the stuff is done that way. We're getting more word of mouth. I am super struggling with trying to figure out how to get the internet to work for us. I've got more people that promised, we'll send you so many leads a month and you're going to make this and you're going to do this. And I'm the best social media guy. I'm the best TikToker. I'm the best whatever it is. And you say, okay, if you're that good, why don't you do it on a percentage? And like, nope, we want our X thousands of dollars a month guaranteed. And then if we do over this, then we want a commission. So you want guaranteed money all the time. And if it loses, I lose my shorts and you don't have to take any risks. And
Right.
so we've played that game multiple times trying to find the right partners, the right people. I've brought in marketing teams to be internally that I can control. I've outsourced. I went back and forth 2 or 3 times trying to find the right mix and match. And we haven't nailed it yet. And it's super frustrating that we can't figure out how to get the right mix and match of people. You're like, oh, do I go on Amazon? Do I go Google? Do I use Facebook? Do I use Instagrams? Do I trade shows? And there's just so many ways to spend your money. And there's so many people willing to spend your money for you
Oh,
that
yeah.
you can blow through money. I bought out the company I bought out for the wood company. He basically got suckered in to do some type of major Facebook campaign, and something happened and they just started getting these pay-per-clicks or whatever it was. And he just got out of control. Next thing he knows, he's got monster marketing advertisement bills. It's like, dude, they just basically sucked all the capital out of our company for these social media stuff that they promised that in the world, and they just get sucked out. And it's not uncommon. It's absolutely not uncommon. I've had people say, "Oh my gosh, I can change your world. I know how to sell an internet, and you got amazing products." I'm like, "Great, pick one. I got 1,000 to choose from. Pick one, pick 3, pick 5. I don't care. Crush it." And they're like going, "We don't know how to do it." And like when it's on your money, when you're betting on when you play poker with your money versus playing poker with your dad's money, it's a different game.
Yeah, for sure.
So
We
we haven't mastered that marketing space, and it's super frustrating because all you hear about is all these people like, I did this one ad, I became viral, and we can't keep it on the shelf fast enough. You're like, yeah, are you a unicorn, or is this I'm the unicorn that I can't figure this out? I don't know.
we've had difficulty getting a good marketing company to market direct to clients,
Yeah.
like calling, that kind of direct marketing, as opposed to a lot of our business right now comes from word of mouth and referrals and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
We work with those franchisors. So the franchisors will get a new franchisee. It's like, oh, hey, this is Bill. Bill is opening the location in, Encinitas, California, or, New York, or, Austin, or whatever. And so they just refer us over to them. We talk with them. We get them a quote. They move forward with it. We go out and we do the build out, and then we provide the ongoing support. So that referral network within the franchise systems has worked very well. And we have multiple franchisors we work with, but that's been the bulk of our growth. Finding a good marketing partner outside of that stuff that we haven't, because I'm the one who does most of the sales, that I haven't done myself, has been, not very effective. We had a company, I won't name the name, but we had a company that was doing a marketing for us, and we met them at the trade show for the vendor that we use for all of our SaaS software. The vendor we use for all our SaaS software, Pax8, amazing. Love those guys. If anybody's an MSP listening to this, they're fantastic. Absolutely love their service. That service is really underrated these days. You see so many companies out there, like you mentioned, they just want to take your money, but then they don't provide the service. And that's a challenge to find the ones that are still good out there. But these marketing guys, it's like, again, like you said, hey, pay us all this money each month, and we're gonna get you all these leads. And our ICP, like our ideal customer profile, is a company who either has an existing MSP that they're not happy with because they're not getting the service that they want, or somebody who wants to get an MSP or needs an MSP but doesn't know who to go to. People that already have an MSP and that are either happy or locked into a 3 or 4 year contract, that's not our ideal customer profile. And I can't tell you how many calls I got on with people like that. And I'm like, what are we doing here? Get on the call. Like, hey, who are you guys using for your MSP right now? Oh, we're using so-and-so. We just signed a 3 year contract like 2 months back. It's like, okay, well, what do you guys do for VoIP? And they're like, oh, we just switched to a different VoIP provider like a month ago. Okay, how about cameras? And it's like, well, we got our camera system replaced 6 months back. It's like, man, I'm running out of ideas here. How about automation? It's like, well, we could maybe discuss that, but it's like you're kind of having to go down the rabbit hole to figure out where you can find a way in. And sometimes you have to do that, right? But if I'm paying somebody to market my company, I shouldn't have to be grasping for straws once I get on the call with the client. I think I'm halfway decent at closing a deal if you put me in front of somebody who actually needs our services. I'm not going to try to force somebody into using our services. They have to somewhat want it. Like, hey, we're struggling with our technology. Can you guys help us? Yeah, absolutely. Do a quote and walk them through what it includes and how we can be better than their other MSP. But if they're not interested or they already have somebody under contract, then it's not even
Yeah.
worth it. But
Yeah, call me when you're. Can I call you when about 6 months before your contract's going to expire, and then see if you're happy with your service. If you are, then you probably should stay with them. And if you're not happy, and we can solve some of those problems, then let's talk. But there's no need to talk now. I don't want to waste your time or mine.
yeah,
So let's talk in 6 months, 12 months, 3 years. I don't know.
yep.
Yeah,
And
I get it.
the way that we work, we don't do contracts because I think I kind of take the T-Mobile approach. Like if and a lot of cellular companies don't do contracts anymore, but back when T-Mobile was like the only one that didn't do contracts, I like that approach because it's like if they continue to offer me good service, then I have no reason to leave and go somewhere else. But if
Yeah.
they start offering garbage service, then I start looking around and find a replacement. I'm not in a contract, so I can leave at any time. But
I shouldn't go there. You're probably going to get a bunch of rejections on this podcast for bringing up this controversial subject. But I thought, what would happen if your marriage contract expired every year and you had to renegotiate your contract? How would you as a spouse ensure that you want to renew? Would you
yep,
approach your marriage in any different way, or your relationships, if you had an expiration clause that was not till death do we part, but we had some kind of a, and so I swear that there was somebody that I heard on some podcast that they built it into their prenup, that they had to decide every so many years, reset up on the table, and they could redefine what they wanted in the relationship. But it changes. You talked about that. It was like, okay, this long-term service. I'm like, I've done too many where I've had a long-term service that I sign up for, and like the day after you sign up, the service is gone. They
yep,
were like working hard with you before, and then as soon as you finally sign on that year or 2 or 3 or 5 year contract, you don't get any service.
yep.
Like, we got your money. Like, I want out of this. Nope. I had one that we did a 3 year gig. I said they were selling our product. They wanted exclusive rights to sell our products on Amazon, and we said, this is what we're starting with. Go. We don't have this expertise you claim you do have. They didn't sell any more on Amazon than we did for 3 years. And we were into this like a year, like, you guys aren't selling anymore. We want out. No, it's a 3 year contract. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Nothing. It's a 3 year contract. You're stuck. I'm like, no, we need out. You're not selling. You're not promoting. Yeah, we're not going to promote anymore. We're not going to do it. But you won't let us out of the contract. I'm like, you're out of your mind. Nope, we won't let you out of the contract. We're going to come after you if you try to go take Amazon direct. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, that's insane. The marketing company that we hired, they had an out after I think like 180 days or something, as long as you gave notice. And so I told them, like, right when we signed, like 2 days later, we had an employee that was working with us, and we had a client that got rid of their internal IT guy. And so we sent that employee over there to be like a temporary FTE, a temporary full-time employee at the site. And next thing you know, he starts having conversations with them to take over the IT director position. And then he ends up taking over the IT director position and kicks us out of the mix. So I got a call like a couple weeks after this had happened that he took that position. Hey, we're not going to need SD Tech. Your services are no longer required. We now have this other guy internally, so we're good. We don't need you guys anymore. And that was a huge loss of our revenue. It's like 10, 15K a month.
Yeah.
And so this was like a week or two after we signed the contract with the marketing company. And so I called him up and I told him, I said, hey, I'm just telling you guys right now, if you guys don't perform, we're going to have to cancel. I'm being forward with you right now. You guys better claim the moon, the sun, and the stars. Show me. And they didn't. And then we had our monthly meeting and I sat down with them. I said, hey, man, these are the leads you guys are sending us. You're sending us, I mean, these people would be good clients if they weren't already in a contract with another MSP. So let's make sure that we send me people that aren't already in a contract. And the next month, same thing. Same conversation, sending the guy that was leading up the sales department emails like, hey, this isn't working, blah, blah, blah. Same thing next month. So like by the third or fourth month, I'm like, okay, this is my official notice to cancel. And then they're like, oh, well, this is as long as you notifies us before this date, that's fine. But then it's another month after that. And so they just try to get that last, couple of dollars out of you. But it's just really disappointing because I'm a very loyal customer. And if you do right by me and you do what you say you're going to do, I'm going to stick with you for a long time. But if you don't perform, the relationship can't continue,
Yeah, you're
So,
like, this isn't working. I can't keep paying an employee who doesn't do any work. I'm like,
right.
sorry, if you're not making widgets for me, then you're not showing up. I can't keep paying you. I don't know why that's so hard to concept.
It really is these days, and I don't know if it's some of the younger generation or what it is, but so you've been running your own business for, like you said, 30 some odd years. What would you go back and, like, I think to myself, one of the best piece of advice I could have given myself now, 25 years into it, would have been get a good accountant very early on because they can save you so much money on taxes and write-offs and all that kind of stuff. That's what you try to do as a business owner. You're trying to get the most out of every dollar that you have and get as many write-offs legally that you can to save yourself money on taxes. What would you tell your younger self?
My younger self would be fire way quicker. I've had too many employees that are low performers, and I recognize that it's going to be a pain in the butt. Let's say they're doing 50% effort. They're just like, dude, you're not doing anything. But I look at it, and if I fire you, then that means I have to go back and hire somebody else and interview the process. And I have this void in this company. And it's really challenging to, like, okay, well, I know you're kind of a cancerous to the company, but I kind of need somebody to do this role. And ended up, I've had cancer in our company for probably 15 to 20 of those years of our company. Just disasters after disaster after disaster. And it's mainly because I've kept on people that are not healthy for the company. So you have to figure out ways to get rid of them. And I have a hard time letting people go. I just, I care for people, hey, tomorrow you'll work better. Today was a rough day. We'll figure this out. And, I'll just work twice as hard because you're working half as hard and we'll figure this out. And I was like, I got to pull my head out and say, like, this isn't going to work. But I could tell you war stories if I tell people the war stories I've been through with this company, first of all, they're astonished we're still in business. And second of all, they cannot believe I've had some things happen that they're like, Sean, I'm an insurance company. There's a guy that has been selling us insurance for like 20 years, 15 to 20 years, or product liability insurance or company insurance. He says, all of my companies combined that I service, all of them combined have not gone through the crap that you've gone through in your business.
Yeah.
He says, I cannot believe, we just had someone over the Christmas holiday. On Christmas Eve, they hacked into our quoting software. So our quoting software, we sent out to do a quote. Hey, customer, if you like this quote, then you agree to it and you can pay online with your credit card and we'll make your widget and we'll ship it out for you. Pretty simple. Here's what it is. So they hacked into our software, changed the bank account where the money was going to be deposited. They then made up fake invoices in our system, sent it to themselves. They paid for it with stolen credit cards. So the money was laundered through our software into their own bank, and they stole the money just using us as a passway. So you had to know how to hack into our software, change the bank accounts, know how to steal credit cards, know how to do all this stuff. And the other one they did, which is amazing, is I swear it's the same company, but during that timeline, starting about the same timeline, they hacked into our email stuff and they started sending all of the Stroops.com emails, floods of spam, all kinds of crap. And so we would have thousands of emails over the Christmas holiday that we didn't know which ones are real and which ones are not, and you couldn't funnel through them fast enough. And so all the ones where the notification came in that said, hey, by the way, we think someone's hacking, we don't know which one is real and which ones are not. So this elaborate hacking thing happened, and we caught the software company like, we have never seen this in our lives. We talked to the banks, we've never seen this in our lives. They're like, who does this? How did you pull this off? I'm like, if you look at my history, we've done some amazing things that no one's ever done before. And that's one of the perfect examples of the crap that we've had to do it.
You wouldn't believe the lengths that people will go. My wife was telling me a story about how they had a client of theirs. She works for a contracting company, and they do very, very large build outs on buildings and renovations and all kinds of stuff in the millions of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
They had this contract with this one client. the hackers hacked the email, I think, of the client, and they also posed as her, but like with a fake email address.
Mhm.
So it wasn't even her email, it was some fake email address. They sent them, and this is, mind you, this is after the head of the finance department at the contracting company that she works for told them, hey, here's the wire instructions to send payments to. Do not change these instructions unless you get direct
Mhm.
instructions from me, the head of the accounting department, like the CFO, basically. And somebody in their accounting department got fake instructions from somebody posing as my wife,
Mhm.
sends it to them. They go, oh, okay, you want us to route the, I don't even know how much money it is, probably like, I don't know, $500,000 or something. It's like, hey, you want us to route to like a random different account? Oh yeah, sure, no problem. Bup, 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 bup. They sent it, and it's like, then of course my wife's following up. She's like, hey, we're waiting on that payment. Our accounting department hasn't seen it. Oh no, we wired you the money already. Not to our account, you didn't. And they're like, yeah, yeah, we did. A couple weeks ago, you sent me new instructions to a different account to wire the money to. I don't send any instructions about where to wire the money to. Our CFO does that. If you took instructions from somebody who thought was me, that's so it's just the amount of thievery and all
Mhm.
kinds of other nonsense that's going on the
Right.
daily on the internet is just absolutely insane. Cybersecurity is a big part of where we've kind of augmented some of the stuff we're doing, and we don't even do a lot of the cybersecurity piece ourselves internally. We have a good friend of ours who has a cybersecurity company. You
Mhm.
might refer to them as like an MSSP, and we partner with them, and they monitor all the cybersecurity stuff because that's like a whole nother it's like a whole nother animal. You
Right.
know, it's like the difference between the inventor that you mentioned earlier that duct tapes a couple pieces of pipe together and says, here's my invention, and you guys that can draw something up on CAD, send it over to the CNC machine, and produce an actual real functioning product. So there's a lot of MSPs out there, but unless they're very well versed in cybersecurity, you really need an outside partnership with somebody like Rudy and his team. That's who we use, but he's like ex military, knows all the ins and outs when it comes to cyber and how to avoid a lot of the hacking stuff. But it's incredible. Like, it's so much just nonsense
Yeah.
going on these days. So definitely, if you don't have cybersecurity insurance, highly recommend getting it. That's
It's tough. I mean, it's just one more thing that that little entrepreneur is trying to start off is like, do I hire an accountant first? Do I hire a sales guy first? Do I hire cybersecurity first? You're like going, which one of these thousands of things? I got $5. I got hundred
yep,
bucks. What am I going to spend money on? And then you hire a sales guy who's like, hey, thanks. Just kind of like you talked about with the IT guy. I hired a sales guy like, oh, I know where you're getting this from. I'm just going to go sell it myself, and I'm going to bypass you, and I'll take your idea. And why am I cutting my boss in? I'm just going to go do it direct. So there's all these things that the young entrepreneur, that's why I look at this like Mark Zuckerberg and some of these guys have just crushed it. How did you pull this off at such a young age when there's so many people that are super anxious to take your technology?
yep,
It's just, and you go back and look at, I mean, I'm not going to blame anybody, but I've watched the Facebook story where there's I think three people involved,
yeah.
and the two of the people aren't Mark Zuckerberg. So like, okay, I don't know what happened with those guys, but where were they at in the play and who made which play to move which guy to here and there? And I don't know. I mean, I wasn't there, but I can just tell you that I know that there was somebody's X involved. And I like, how did you stay in charge? Even you look at the Bill Gates, how did Bill Gates grow from like working in his basement to not lose his entire company at such a bloody young age? I think he was billionaire by the time he was like 20 nothing. It's like, how did you do this when you don't know how to run business and people are very anxious to steal your knowledge and your product or service? It's just amazing to
It
me.
yeah, it really is. Speaking of Bill Gates and Microsoft, very interesting. A gentleman that I did a podcast with the other day. That's what I was telling you, I meet the most interesting people on these podcasts. He was telling me his business partner is actually used to work at Microsoft for like 20 years. So I said, I am going to need to connect with your business partner, and I need to do a podcast with him because I want to hear some of those stories. Microsoft, as it grew up into the behemoth that it
Mhm.
is today. I remember my dad used to be an architect, and he used to build his own computer because in the 90s there was no Best Buy. You
Right.
built your own computer. I think the only computer you could buy in like the late 90s was, I think, like a Gateway or something. But early 90s, mid 90s, there was no off the shelf computer. You had to buy the components, you put them together. So I'd watch him put the computers together. He was getting into AutoCAD, and I was like, this is fascinating. I really enjoyed it. I'm kind of a hands-on person. And so I would mess with the components or help him. And then I started building my own computers, and he would refer me to some of his colleagues and clients and things like that. Like, oh, yeah, you want a computer? My son's great with computers. He can come over and get you set up. And so that's what you're talking about. Your other company's name, is it Harken
So
Technologies?
Harken Technologies is actually the mother company.
Okay.
Stroops is actually our brand of our fitness products. So Stroops is the brand of the fitness products. We actually have what's called Rect Out for recreation and outdoors. That's our outdoor and recreation one. We have another
Okay.
one called 3X Springs, which is industrial products. And then we have Harken Technologies is the invention company, and then we just put them in the different brands. But we also private label for other people, or a white label, or co-brand with other people.
Nice.
So it depends on what makes
Well,
sense.
yeah, I wanted when I created my company name, I had the idea to do I wanted something that was generic and not
Mhm.
siloed into one specific, like, computer support technicians or
Right.
something like that. It's very like, okay, so you work on computers and that's it. We met a couple of guys that have an IT company up in Austin, and they named their company Pet IT.
Mhm.
And that's a cute name if all you do is veterinary clinics. But
Mhm.
if you want to be taken seriously and go to, say, an attorney's office, an attorney's not going to hire Pet IT. So I came up with the name System Design Technologies because computers are systems, networks are systems, phone systems, all that kind of stuff. They're all systems that integrate together. So it's very interesting, when you think back to like the inception of companies and where they started and how they come up with names and how they figured out what they were going to do to begin with. And it's all very fascinating.
So since you brought up the name thing, the first product I invented after I was in college, as in grad school, lifting weights, and bypassed my grip. I wanted to bypass my grip to get the bigger muscles because my fingers were giving out before the bigger muscles.
Right.
So I designed a strap that would loop around things, and I home sewing machine. My wife found it at a garage sale. I picked up some fabric from a local store, got a cup. I mean, this took like a year or two to figure out how to do this. Where the name came from, the product was a strap that would loop onto things. So it'd loop around a dumbbell, and it would loop around a barbell, and it'd loop around different things. And so it was a strap that would loop. So the name Stroops came from strap and loops together. Strap and loops became Stroops. And so that was the first
That's
name of our
cool.
first product. And then some guy comes by our booth like several years later, and he's just looking at our whole booth and oohing and all, like, man, you guys come up with all these cool, innovative stuff. And he stares at the name Stroops. He says, dude, that's a freaking cool name. And it's sports spelled backwards with an extra O. And we're like,
It is.
that's what we did too. We're like, oh yeah,
But
we knew that.
yeah. Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, we designed it like that.
Yeah. So that was the concept. Oh yeah, sure. We knew that when we did it. So Stroops was a strap and loop was our first product. Sport spells sports backwards, and it's also a unique name. So which one of the challenges comes in, which I mean we can talk about another time too, is you can trademark the name Stroops because it's unique
Yes.
and it's really special, and we can own that space. Stroops on the web. Type in Stroops, and Stroops pops up number one. You type in systems, like 10 billion things come up.
Yep.
But the negative side is I have to go market. What does Stroops mean? What is Stroops? And how much time and effort does it take to create that? And that's no different than the product that our elastic products. We call them slastics, okay? And it came from the word safe elastic. So safe and elastic became slastics because we used to call it safety sleeve elastic or safe elastic or all, like 6 words to try to describe it. I'm like, man, there's got to be
Yep.
one word we can just say Band-Aid, Jello, whatever, Xerox. And so we came up with the word slastics, which means safe elastic, all in one word.
That's really cool. I like that.
But it took a
Slastics.
long time to do it. It took us probably 5 or 6 years to come up with that word. And then I remember the day it happened. It happened in my office. We had some interns. I had a gym at the time, 5,000 members, blah, blah, blah. We had a competition. And we were just sitting in one day with a couple college interns. Her name was Heidi. And we're like, safety sleeve elastic, safe elastic. And she just like, slastics. And I just went, and
Boom.
boom.
That's
I'm
it.
like, that's it. And I just changed the ICS at the end to IX, slastics. So it's different,
Unique.
unique.
Yeah.
And slastics became the word like our Band-Aid. And this is the slastics. They're safe elastics in one word. It's unique. It's trademark. It's registered. You can't copy it. You can't use it. And the same with our word Stroop. So it's taken a long time to try to brand it, and we still haven't got it branded as much as we want. But you can't go use the name Stroops and Slastics. But it cost a ton of money and effort to try to brand it and teach people what it was and what it is.
Yeah.
So, but once you get it, then it's really super cool.
Oh,
But
yeah. Well, we're
it is like,
coming up on the hour. I want to be respectful of your time. I want you to give the audience some background on how they can reach out to you and contact you if they'd like to find out more information about Stroops or manufacturing products. I didn't even expect that piece to come up in the conversation. I didn't realize you guys did all that. That's
yeah.
it kind of like you're more than meets the eye. You've got the sports piece, and then you also manufacture products in a very
Yeah,
short timetable. So that's also, how would somebody reach out to you if they wanted to find out about Stroops or manufacturing?
so if the easiest way to do it is Stroops.com, Stroops.com. So Stroops.com, you can go on the website. I mean, I'll give you my email. I don't care. Sean, SHON at Stroops.com. So it's sports spelled backwards. You can reach out either way. You know, you can see Stroops.com on the website. You can Google us, you know, just whatever. I designed it like this intentionally, but not always intentionally. I just like to make stuff. And so I wanted to have control of how we make it. And so I didn't want to ship it to Asia. I wanted to make it and control it, and I want to make small quantities. And people still talk, well, you can save a lot of money if you go overseas. I'm like, yeah, but maybe not, because a story I've shared before is some guy said, I'm going to save a lot of money. I'm going to go buy 40,000 units from China because they'll only cost me $10 a piece. And like 5 years later, he'd only sold 1,000. So he had 1,000 units left that he couldn't sell. And he's not the only guy to do this, where they're like, I think I have a cool widget. And then they find out it's not a cool widget, or they can't sell it. I wish it was pink. If it was pink, I'd buy them all. But you made them in green. So I'm not going to buy them. And like, well, now I got to go buy another 1,000 from China. And I've done this with China too, where I've said, I'm going to bring some stuff over to China. First of all, they copy it and sell it to everybody else. And second of
Yep.
all, they say, this is what you're going to get. And then they ship you something else. I'm like, that's not what we ordered. Well, that's what we paid for. That's what we got for you. That's what we're going to ship you. I'm like, I can't sell that. Give me all my money back. Nope, we're not going to do that. So now you're out money, you're out cash, you're out everything else. And so if you aren't a big enough player, you can get yourself in trouble. So I guess from my 2 cents worth is, I like to come at things a lot of really conservative and kind of very cautiously. I'm not a guy that wants to spend a bunch of people's money or take a lot of risks. So I want to be able to take the steps that I feel comfortable with. I don't want to get investors. I don't have any investors. It's me. And if I don't want to make money today, I don't make money today. If I do, I go out and try to make money. But and another thing, it's not easy. And we talked about this before we got the podcast started.
Yes, we did.
If you don't plan on being an entrepreneur for 3 to 5 years at least, probably at least 5, don't do it. Don't do it. It's going to be, and if you don't want to deal with, if you're not semi-technically able to do all aspects of tax, legal, the service, whatever, if you don't like all the aspects and you like just this one niche, then don't be an entrepreneur, because you're going to die. It's just not going to be worth it. Just say, you know what? It's okay to be awesome at this. And we need awesome people that do this. But don't take on the whole thing, and just find the people that are good at what they do that will fill in the gaps for you, whether it be IT with you or automation with you. I'm not very good at. I'm going to find that guy that I want to, but I'm going to try to take what I can when I can. But you have to recognize when you're weak and say,
Right.
I'm not good at this. And then you have to decide if it's worth the money to pay for it. I mean, we outsource some stuff too, because we're not so good at it. And then sometimes you just got to suck it up as an entrepreneur and put in some extra time. And it's not, if you build it, they will come. And if I have this invention or this concept, I'm going to become bloody rich. I don't think people realize how many businesses fail and how difficult it is. But to be honest, I think we're the only company in the fitness space that I'm aware of that has the same owner with no investors.
That's probably accurate.
I mean, they don't stick around, they die, or they have to have investors, or they have to have partnerships. I don't have any partnerships, no investors, and we make in the United States. You put that there too, then there's nobody.
Yeah, you adding all those things together, I can't think of another company that even manufactures things in the United States anymore. Most everything is, made in China.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
I mean, you guys are a rare breed. So
Yeah.
I appreciate that, because we aim to stand out in our field as well. We don't want to be like every other MSP that, you sign a 3-year contract with, and your comment earlier about garbage support the minute you sign the contract, it's like, okay, you're on the hook now for 3 years. Out the window goes the support. No, it needs to continue regardless of contract or otherwise. People need to get what they pay for.
Yep.
Otherwise, they're not
You got to
happy.
you got to service them. So the guy asked me an interesting question today. He says, "What's the future?" I said, "I really think that the future is going to be human relationships. That special need. If you look at the people today, my kid, 19 years old. I have lots of kids, but when there's one particular 19, I don't think she's really good yet with communicating with people. She's really good on the internet, and she's really good with social media. But I think in that lower generation, if you actually have the ability to talk to somebody and have a relation, you could be like the standout, like in my year, like, oh, I knew computers, I know IT, I'm so cool, I know AI, that might be this. And I have a feeling that one of these future generations is going to like, you know how to talk to people? You know how to have a relations with people? Dude, that's like AI for today. Oh my gosh. I mean, my daughter's taking a class on how to talk to people. It's
Yep.
crazy. And
But
so
sometimes it's a lost art.
it's a lost art. And I think you're going to have to be, in order to be successful in many businesses, I think you're going to have to know how to talk to people.
Yep.
Unless AI takes over the world and we're all controlled by robots, which might happen.
That's that's true too. Well, Sean, I really appreciate all your time today, and I feel like we should have another conversation down the road. I really enjoyed talking to you and hearing about your business, and we didn't really get into the growth over the years and anything like that, but maybe we set up a follow-up call down the road and dive into that a little bit more. But I wasn't aware that you guys did all that manufacturing. That's fascinating to me. I love using your brain to come up with an idea, and then you take that idea and you make it a reality, and now it's a thing that actually exists and works. That's
One of the
crazy.
things one of the things that could be done is we could, if you want to do it, I mean, it depends where you want to go, is to start with an idea that either someone else has had and thrown out on the table, and I can talk you through the process of what all happened with the series and how it came about. Or we could even start from ground zero. One of the things, I don't know how many callers you had, but someone else I did a podcast with said, what if I had one of our callers in and we talked about a particular idea and then you helped create it during the podcast? And we did the entire podcast or went through a whole series where you say, okay, I'm an inventor. We find the right max, because if someone wanted to do like computer stuff, like that's not what we do. If you had to fit in our space. But then you would watch the entire process of how do you launch a product or how do you come up with one? And I wouldn't have a problem. Again, this morning, I solved a problem that they're like, how did you get there? And I explained how I got there from this concept to this concept to this concept. And I said, this is how the solution is best. And it's also at 1/10 of the price you thought it was going to be. Like, how did you do that? And it'd be interesting to have the conversation about some of that stuff. And so anyway, and we could go back to manufacturing. Let's make this come to life. And we have 3D printers too. I have 8 3D printers. So we can make prototypes at smaller pieces and see if it actually works.
Yeah, that'd be really
But anyway,
cool.
there's lots of cool things that can be done. But yeah, if you want to talk again, that's great. I'm
Okay.
okay with that.
Well,
Whatever.
Sean, I really appreciate your time today. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week.
Thank you. You as well.